What's up guys, welcome back to the workshop. In this episode, I'm gonna be showing you how to sharpen all your tools. I'm talking about your garden tools, your shovels, things like that. We're gonna be throwing some sparks around and having some fun with the Ken Onion Knife and Tool Sharpener Mark II in its original form. And I'm also gonna show you how to sharpen those tools, those same tools on the blade grinding attachment as well. Before we do dive in, safety first. Want to go over a couple things. We're going to be using these machines in a variety of ways, some weird positions, and we're going to be throwing sparks, like I said, on a lot of different directions. So you're going to want to wear some safety goggles whenever you're sharpening tools with this machine. Also be aware of what you're wearing. You don't want loose clothing because again, those belts are moving. We don't want anything getting caught in there. Before we get started sharpening, we want to get our machine set up to sharpen a variety of tools. For this, we're going to have a different approach. Most of the time when you're sharpening tools, you're gonna want a higher speed. So we're gonna set the speed up near 6 or 7. We're gonna have our coarse belt installed for a lot of these, although there will be some nuance and we'll go over those for specific tools. But for the most part, we wanna have our coarse belt installed and a high speed. On the original knife and tool sharpener, we're also gonna wanna remove the guide. But to do that, we're just gonna hold down firmly and pull up, remove the guide. And for most cases, we're gonna rotate that cassette forward so that we can bring the grinder to the tool. When it comes to sharpening tools that you use in the yard, like loppers or shears, it is possible to bring the sharpener to the tool and do the sharpening. But if possible, we always recommend using a vise to hold the tool. It makes it more accurate when it comes to grinding and you get better results. Getting started with these shears, I've got them mounted up in the vise and now I'm gonna bring the sharpener to the tool. For this, you're just going to want to match the angle of the existing bevel with the belt. Lay the belt gently on the shears, don't push too hard. Start the machine at one end and work your way to the other. Be sure to use a consistent back and forth pattern and don't push too hard. Let the abrasive do the work. Soon you'll recreate that edge, then you're ready to do the opposite side. After you're done grinding, be sure to give your shears a few snips. That'll remove any leftover burr and leave you with a sharp edge. A few tips to remember as you're grinding with the handheld sharpener. Light pressure. Don't push too hard. That belt wants to wrap around the edge. We don't want to wrap too much around that edge. It'll actually end up making it dull. So light pressure, be consistent. You'll be left with nice sharp shears. Now let's show you how to sharpen these on the blade grinding attachment with the Elite package. With some tools, it may be easier to disassemble in order to reach that edge. Since I'm using the blade grinding attachment, I'm gonna go ahead and disassemble these and sharpen them that way. Be sure to throw your nuts on the ground. It's just a fun little game you can play with yourself later of trying to find them. Now that I've got these shears broken down, all I need to do is present the edge to the belt. But I wanna make sure a couple things are set up on the machine first. I'm trying to achieve as flat a grind as I can on this edge. So I want my pulley in the furthest forward position for a flat grind. I'm also going to want to remove some material quickly, so I've got my speed set to 6. With that set up, all I need to do is make sure, like with any knife, I present the edge to the belt and make consistent movements across so I get a nice keen edge. After you've done one side, just do the other. There's a fair bit of carbon in these loppers, which explains all the sparks, but I've created a nice keen edge on these. I'm gonna get them reassembled. We'll give it a few lops to knock that leftover burr, and these are ready to hit the yard. When it comes to sharpening loppers, you're only gonna actually sharpen one side of the tool. The other side is just a bypass that doesn't need to be sharpened. So, I find it easiest to break these down, and that way I only have to worry about the one side to sharpen. I'm gonna get it in a vise, and let's show you how to sharpen it. All right, now that I got this mounted up in the vise, it's really simple to approach the edge. I'm just gonna match the existing bevel, make a few passes until I form a burr, and we're all set. Let's get to it. Once you can feel a small burr all the way across the edge, you've removed enough material, you're ready to reassemble and use your loppers. Just like the shears, you're gonna be left with that burr. So once you get your loppers reassembled, give them a few snips and that'll remove the leftover burr and you're good to go. Let's jump over and show you how to sharpen these loppers on the blade grinding attachment. In most cases, you can probably still sharpen in between these two pulleys like we would on any other tool. However, these loppers have a kind of a unique geometry, and I'm actually going to use the front platen. It's a cool new feature we have on this, and I'm going to show you how to use it. Using the front platen can sometimes involve a little bit of extra setup. As you can see, I'm obviously on the opposite side of the machine, and I'm going to want to make sure I match the existing bevel on these loppers. So I'm going to lay it up against that plate and make sure I've got it even. You're also going to want to make sure as you make that pass across the edge, you've got room for the handle. It's going to end up going down below the edge of the table. So I've got room for that to go all the way down. At this point, all I need to do is start grinding and put that new edge on. After you've got your loppers put back together, give them a few snips to remove that burr and you're good to go. If you're wondering how to sharpen these handheld loppers or bypass shears, it's the same approach. You can remove the one side and sharpen the edge, reassemble, you're good to go. Next, let's sharpen a lawnmower blade. These are pretty straightforward. We're just trying to match the existing bevel. So I'm going to get this mounted up in a vise and show you how to do it with the handheld tool, and then we'll jump over to the blade grinding attachment. Let's dive in. I've got the P120 coarse grit belt on here with a speed of 6, and I'm just going to make smooth, even passes until I create a new edge. Once you're done grinding, you should be able to feel a burr all the way along the edge of the blade. That tells you you've reached a new apex and your blade is sharp. There's no need to remove that burr. Just throw the lawnmower blade back on your lawnmower and get to work. When it comes to sharpening the lawnmower blade on the blade grinding attachment, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to try and match that existing bevel. I've got this one queued up. It's about a 25-degree angle, it looks like. Then my job is just the same as any other blade. Be consistent and smooth as I make a pass from heel to tip. All right, we're going to get the machine fired up here in continuous run. I've got the P120 coarse grit belt installed along with my speed set at 6. Again, we're just trying to make smooth, even passes here. Again, you're only going to need to sharpen the beveled side. You can leave that burr on there, throw your lawnmower blade back on, and get back to work. Next, let's show you how to tackle a shovel. Some shovels are utility purposes and need a little bit of a sharp edge. Some shovels are just your straightforward shovels. We'll approach them both the same way. All right, now that I've got my shovel mounted up, I'm just going to try and create a new crisp edge. Obviously, we don't need shovels to be super sharp, but we do want a clean edge on them. So I'm going to match the existing bevel and make a few smooth passes. I've got my P120 coarse grit on and a speed set at 6. Notice how I just make smooth passes. This isn't going to take a lot of time. We're just freshening up the edge. Jumping over to the blade grinding attachment, we're going to approach this similarly to any other edge tool. We're going to match the existing bevel, make smooth, even passes. All right, as we get started grinding here, I'll set this in continuous run. I've got the P120 coarse grit belt and a speed set at 6. Next, let's sharpen an axe. I'm going to get it mounted up in my vise here, and we'll bring the Ken Onion handheld to the axe. Now that I've got my axe mounted up here in the vise, I'm going to bring the sharpener to the axe edge. Be sure to match the existing bevel on one side, make a few passes until you form a burr, then flip the axe over and make the same amount of passes on the opposite side. Now that we've sharpened with the handheld, let's show you how to sharpen the axe with the blade grinding attachment. A couple nuances here you want to pay attention to. I've got my pulley set to the 3rd position for extra convex. Axes tend to want to do a lot of chopping, so a nice big convex on the edge is actually really helpful when it comes to that. So I've got my pulley set at 3. I've got my speed set at 6, and I've got the P120 coarse grit belt on the machine. All right, with the machine in continuous run, we're going to approach this the same way we would any knife. We're going to sharpen one side, keeping the axe as level as possible. I've got this set out to a 30-degree angle. I'm going to make passes on one side until I have a burr, and then repeat that process on the opposite side. Next, we're going to touch up this mattox. This is a tool used for chopping into roots and things like that, so it does end up with some chips on it. It doesn't necessarily need to be really sharp, but you do want a nice clean edge, and that's what we're going to put back on it. We've got the mattox mounted up in the vise here, so we can bring the sharpener to the tool. This edge here is pretty banged up, so it's going to take quite a bit of material removal. I've got that P120 coarse grit belt that should make short work of it. My speed set up at 6. Maybe we'll crank it up to 7 depending on how this goes. All right, that's how you sharpen using the handheld. And we've got a nice edge on this, but you'll notice there's still some chips in it. I could grind more if I wanted to, but this is perfectly fine to cut through roots and the things that it's intended to do. So I'm not gonna take any more material off than I need to. Now let's show you how to approach this using the blade grinding attachment on the Ken Onion. When it comes to sharpening a tool this large on the blade grinding attachment, you're gonna wanna try and find a way to brace it against yourself. The larger the tool, the more unruly they get when it comes to using this system, and you probably are gonna wanna lean towards the handheld, but it can still be done. Let's show you how to do it. All right, I've got a similar setup on the blade grinding attachment, my P120 grit belt, speed set at 6. I'm gonna set my angle at 30 degrees and make smooth, even passes just like I did on the axe. As we were digging around trying to find tools, we came across this scraper. It seemed like a great example of something to sharpen, similar to a shovel, but we'll show you how to do it anyhow. We've got the scraper mounted up in the vise. I've got the 120 grit belt and a speed set at 6. Again, I'm just gonna find that existing bevel, match it up, and make passes to create a new clean edge. Once I've created that new smooth edge, I'm gonna call it good. This isn't supposed to be a sharp tool. I just want the edge to be clean so it glides smoothly across the floor. This floor scraper and most tools with large handles on them are a great example of where having a handheld has its advantages. If you do want to sharpen on the blade grinding attachment, it can be done, but with that being said, you might be better off just using the handheld. With that said, let's get to it. This is a good example of a tool that just takes some finagling. I'm pretty sure I want to try and have a flat grind on here so it can scrape smoothly. So I've set my pulley to the forward position. I've got the P120 grit belt on to remove that material, and I'm just going to make smooth, even passes, and we'll see how she comes out. Next up, we've got this 5-in-1 painter's tool, similar to like a putty knife. Doesn't necessarily need to be a sharp edge, but a clean edge is appreciated. Let's put one on it. All right, with the tool mounted up here, I'm gonna bring the grinder to the tool as always. This is a pretty thin metal on this though, so I'm gonna use a little lower speed. I'm gonna set it at 5, make a few passes. This should clean up pretty quick. Now that I've got that edge cleaned up, I'm also gonna hit that curved edge as well. One of the advantages these flexible belts give you is to be able to follow the curvature of those edges. Let's get that while we're here. To touch up this 5-in-1 scraper on the BGA, I'm gonna try and use a flat grind. So I've got that pulley set to the front position. I've also got the edge set at 25 degrees. I kind of eyeballed it, but again, we're not looking for perfection here. We're just looking to clean this edge up. Got my speed set at 5, and I'm using the P120 grit belt. I'm just gonna make smooth, even passes here. I've got the pulley set to the forward position because I believe this is more of a flat grind on here, and I'm just gonna take my time. Again, not trying to get this sharp, just get a new edge on it so it's usable. Let's sharpen some scissors. Scissors are pretty straightforward. There's actually a scissor guide on the Ken Onion Mark II located right here. You remove your original guide, and this right here is the guide for scissors. Scissors only have one bevel, so you're gonna lay the scissor flat on the guide in contact with the belt. Power the machine on and pull the scissors across the belt using gentle pressure all the way to the tip. And that's how you sharpen scissors using the cassette. I actually don't recommend jumping over to the blade grinding attachment. You can sharpen scissors on it, but this guide makes it so simple. It's the easiest way to put an edge back on scissors. And just like the shears, scissors are actually self-honing. So after you've put an edge on the scissors, give them a few snips, it'll hone them and you'll be good to go. That's gonna do it for sharpening tools with the Ken Onion Mark II, both the original and the Elite version. I hope this video helped you guys out. If it did, maybe hit a like and a subscribe. It really helps us out. Appreciate you watching. Catch you on the next one.